Harry snubbed! It is the understanding of the Mark Dolan show that the Duke of Sussex has been desperately trying to engineer a face-to-face meeting with his father, the King, who's in the United States for 4 days on a real, actual royal trip, rather than that horribly fake fiasco that we got from Harry and Meghan in Australia.
Reports say Prince Harry has been trying for months to arrange a face-to-face meeting with King Charles during the state visit to America, based on music-sourced information, while Charles has firmly and repeatedly resisted those efforts, making this the clearest sign yet of their strained relationship. The meeting at Clarence House last year lasted 45 minutes. Music Harry later described it publicly as too formal. Since then, Charles has offered nothing further. Now with Charles in the United States for 4 days at one of the most important diplomatic moments of his reign, the reported stance is that there will be no contact between father and son. The Sussex spokesperson told Fox News that no meeting would happen because it is a state visit, not a personal trip, which reveals the real situation. Technically, the statement is correct. State visits are not family occasions, and meetings with relatives living in the country are not part of official protocol. But presenting the absence of a meeting in a defensive way to a major American outlet does not look like the behavior of people who never wanted the meeting. If Harry and Meghan had not been trying to arrange it, no spokesperson explanation would have been needed. Public explanations only happen when people already expect something might take place.
Even though I'm told that Harry's been on the phone non-stop, desperately lobbying to see his old man. But a furious Sussex spokesperson told Fox News in America that there will be no meeting as it's a state visit, not a holiday. You heard me right.
Inside reports suggest Harry is driven by jealousy, watching Charles and Camilla receive attention from powerful American figures, believing he should also be part of it, even thinking he belongs at the White House, which helps explain the timing of his Ukraine speech. The Ukraine appearance was not mainly about Ukraine. It was about Harry placing himself in an important setting before Charles arrived, creating headlines that secured his place in global discussions before his father's presence overshadowed him. Jealousy is the reason. The Ukraine event was the method. The Closer magazine insider adds clear wording to what observers have already noticed. William Music is said to be more angry than ever. He is urging Charles to face the truth about Harry, issuing a firm warning, demanding that Harry be controlled and limited.
Consumed with jealousy that Charles and Camilla are getting all of this attention. You heard me right, folks. I'm hearing that Harry is consumed with jealousy. I'm also told he's convinced that he should be playing a part in this huge occasion. My insider has told me that Harry thinks he should be in the White House.
The main trigger for the escalation was Harry's comments during his Australian tour, especially the remark suggesting the role caused his mother's death, made in Australia where the king is head of state. That specific statement in that location, with its serious institutional impact in a Commonwealth nation connected music to the crown, is said to have deeply angered William. That reaction is music, understandable from an institutional view. William is the future leader of the same system Harry blamed in its own connected country for their mother's death. The damage of that claim, made in Australia, reported worldwide, and not officially challenged, falls directly on the institution William will one day lead.
William is now begging King Charles to wake up to the reality of Harry, the threat of Harry, delivering him an ultimatum. And it's about getting Harry back in his box.
Every negative statement Harry makes about the royal family in a Commonwealth country becomes something William will eventually have to manage. He is essentially watching Harry create problems that William will later have to fix using authority he does not yet hold. The most important detail from the Closer source is the insight into internal palace dynamics. There is a growing group of senior aides who are becoming open to the idea of Harry and Meghan returning in some limited royal role. Music Charles himself appears to be moving closer to approving what William sees as a serious mistake, while William is failing to convince his father to view the situation from his side. This reflects a hidden internal conflict behind the calm public image. It is not a united front showing stability. It is a real disagreement between the current king and the future king over one of the most important decisions facing the institution today.
I don't want this role because this role killed my mum and I was very much against it.
Well, Closer magazine has spoken to a royal insider who have said this angered William.
The push to restore Harry's position, identified by Richard Eden as a coordinated effort, and described by a Closer insider as a belief among senior figures that Harry is handling his unofficial royal tour well and deserves some form of acceptance, is the exact issue William is fighting. He is not only opposing Harry, he is challenging the broader institutional view that without his resistance would allow such acceptance. The people supporting this idea are not careless or harmful. They follow a clear institutional logic. Allowing the Sussex brand to operate freely in Commonwealth nations without control may be more damaging than bringing it under some level of supervision.
The idea that the royal family need to bring Harry back to fix the royal brand, here's what the insider says. The insider says that sickens William, and he doesn't feel like he's being given any say in this because his father is humouring these opinions, allowing these opinions and edging closer to signing off on what he perceives will be a disaster. So William is so worried that Charles is going to fall.
If Harry continues to carry out royal-style tour regardless of objections, the argument suggests it is better to involve the institution to limit the worst outcomes. William's response music, described through sources, is that if Charles gives in, Harry will gain more freedom to create damage, forming the core argument against compromise. Every concession creates a new standard. Each new standard becomes harder to undo than the last. Music, the half-in, half-out arrangement rejected by the Queen in January 2020, is now music being suggested again in a new form years later. If Charles agrees, William will inherit not only the arrangement but also the precedent it sets. That behavior which broke the Sandringham music agreement could then be rewarded instead of corrected.
He's just going to be giving them more rope to hang them all on because he's going to be the one left to clean up the mess. He's trying to make his father see this from his perspective, but he's getting nowhere. This is a real worry.
And this means future actions could be used as leverage for even more concessions. Charles, speaking to both houses of Congress, only the second British monarch to do so after Queen Elizabeth II in 1991, highlights the importance of the moment and makes Harry's situation stand out even more. Charles is carrying out one of the most significant acts of royal diplomacy in modern times, addressing the lawmakers of the world's most powerful country, music representing the relationship between two long-standing allies. Meanwhile, Harry, described as consumed by jealousy, cannot take part in that role. He cannot address Congress. He cannot represent that relationship. He cannot perform any of the duties connected to the state visit because he chose to step away. Music made that decision. He chose life in California, business ventures, interviews, books, documentaries, private retreats, and commercial projects. Those were his choices.
Is Charles making a speech to both houses of Congress on the 28th of April, making him only the second British monarch to address both chambers after Queen Elizabeth II did in 1991. Of course, Harry wants to be making those speeches. Well, he'll have to put up and shut up because it's his father's moment in the spot.
Now he watches his father, who is unwell and managing cancer treatment that was paused for this visit, receive recognition from American leaders for doing what Harry was once expected to do. The jealousy described is not simple or petty. Music, it reflects a deeper sense of loss from understanding what music he gave up. He gave up speaking before Congress. He gave up attending the state dinner music at the White House. He gave up representing the relationship between nations. He gave up the historical role tied to being heir to an institution spanning over 250 years. Instead, he exchanged those opportunities for paid speeches, private events, and appearances that lack the same significance. The sense of loss from that decision is real.
First of all, William has been incredibly loyal and hasn't put a foot wrong in years and years and years. He's got a beautiful wife who's an amazing princess and will be an amazing queen in Catherine. He's been hardworking. He's got his passion projects like the Earthshot Prize and the homelessness issue. He's an amazing father. He supported Catherine through her cancer battle. William has supported his own father through the cancer battle.
Jealousy is simply the outward sign of that loss. And the source describing him as overwhelmed by it is pointing to someone who is slowly realizing the true value of what he gave up. Not mainly because he misses family connections, though that may be part of it, but because he is watching in real time the importance of the role he left being carried by his father and brother in spaces he can no longer enter, in positions he chose to walk away from, in a duty that was once his by birth and is no longer his. The lasting record of this state visit will include the congressional speech, the state dinner, the 9/11 memorial, the rebuilding of relations, the positive moments with Trump, the garden event, and the overall impression of the visit. It will also include Harry's jealousy, the failed effort to arrange a meeting, the spokesperson's defensive Fox News reply, and William's reported anger over the Australian tour comments.
It would be completely unacceptable because the guy is a wrecking ball. He's a hot mess. He would offend the president. He would offend the first lady. He's a very bitter, deranged, deluded, and angry man.
And music, the insider's description of a private palace clash between the current king, who is being pushed toward compromise music, and the future king, who is issuing strong warnings against it. All of this is happening in the same week. All of it will become part of the official record. And the image of Charles at the podium, representing the partnership between two nations and carrying out the duty of his role, will stand next to Harry's Ukraine speech and his visible frustration as a clear summary of what was given up, what still remains, and what that decision has cost. The time capsule that music, Charles added to during the state visit, linked to America's 250th anniversary and set to be opened in 2276, is a meaningful historical act that reflects the importance of the visit. The relationship between Britain and America has survived 250 years of conflict, music, cooperation, moments of tension, and long-term dependence. The time capsule represents the idea that no matter the current political climate, the relationship will still exist and matter in 2276 in ways neither Charles nor Trump will be alive to see. It reflects a long-term institutional view. What lasts beyond individuals is the relationship itself. This is what the monarchy is meant music to represent. Not the personal politics of the current monarch or the current music government, but the steady continuation of the relationship across different generations. Elizabeth II built that continuity over 70 years through visits and private meetings music, along with the human warmth she brought to the role. Charles is continuing that work during a difficult period in the Anglo-American relationship, even pausing cancer treatment to do so. William will carry it forward in the future. And Harry will be elsewhere, watching that relationship continue without him. The Closer magazine insider's key point is that William believes allowing Harry and Meghan back in any partial role would mark the beginning of serious damage to the royal family music, and this reflects the institutional stakes he has been raising through every possible channel. He is not acting out of personal anger. He is defending the core rule set by the Sandringham Agreement, which Harry's public claim of still being a working royal has clearly challenged. Music, if that challenge is rewarded with compromise, then the rule itself loses meaning. And if the rule loses meaning, the institution loses control over who represents it and under what terms. This is the exact institutional risk William is focused on, not the personal relationship with Harry, which is already beyond repair. Not the financial value of titles, even though that matters too. The real issue is whether the crown can still control its own image. If Harry can declare himself a working royal from a Kiev Forum music and then be allowed back into a partial role, the monarchy loses that control. Any extended royal could then run unofficial tour, make music political statements, and use the royal brand for profit, pointing to Harry's example music as the accepted model. William sees this clearly and knows he may one day have to either enforce the rule or abandon it. He is giving Charles a clear warning now because a major decision point is coming. The Invictus return this summer will bring Harry back to Britain. The Africa tour is already being planned. The idea of a partial return music is being pushed by figures inside the palace. The pressure on the rule is increasing. And William, who does not yet have full authority, is using every available way to make sure Charles understands the consequences before deciding. Music, the question of whether Charles will give in, which the source says is William's main concern, has some early clues in the current situation. Charles refused attempts to arrange a New York meeting. He declined the Sandringham invitation. He kept a firm position during the visit. These are signs of someone who may finally be listening to William instead of acting only as a father. Whether that firmness continues after the visit, when Harry returns to Britain for Invictus as an official reason, will be answered in the coming months. The pattern so far shows that Charles often starts firm but later softens when personal feelings return. The 45-minute Clarence House meeting, music, the lack of response to the Australian tour, and no action taken after Harry's "I will always be royal" statement all follow that pattern. Each moment of firmness has been followed by acceptance. William Music is issuing strong warnings because he understands this pattern. He is trying to hold the line while his father may still change his position. He cannot enforce it officially yet. He can only apply steady pressure music by making his stance clear at every moment so that if Charles chooses to reconnect with Harry again, he fully understands William's position and what it could mean in the future when William holds power. The state visit shows Charles doing his duty. The speech to Congress is the peak moment. The time capsule represents the long-term view. And in Montecito, Harry is watching everything unfold, music filled with frustration, waiting for a call that is not coming, planning his return for Invictus in July music, and seeing his brother featured as the face of the future on magazine covers in a home tied to heavy financial commitments. The official record reflects everything clearly. The speech is there, the frustration is there, William's warning is there, Charles' firmness is there. And the time capsule, set to be opened in 2276, is there as well, showing the perspective of someone acting beyond the present moment. Charles signed it, he made the trip, he paused treatment, he fulfilled his role, and the record, as always, keeps everything. The idea reported by Richard Eden that there is a coordinated effort to bring Harry and Meghan back into some level of royal duty is supported by the Closer magazine insider's description of internal palace thinking music. Both sources, separate from each other, point to the same situation. People within the system believe that a controlled return of Harry is better music than leaving things completely unmanaged, as seen in the Australian tour and Ukraine speech. When two separate sources describe the same pattern, the claim becomes stronger. The idea of compromise is not without reason. Even if William's argument may carry more weight in the long term, supporters of compromise accept that Harry will continue these unofficial tour in Commonwealth countries no matter what anyone says. He has already done this in Jordan, Ukraine, Australia, and is planning Africa next. He will also be in Britain this summer for Invictus. He is expected to continue similar visits later in the year. Each one creates the same issues: media coverage, official-looking photos, the connection to royal titles, and the use of the brand for business, which the Sandringham Agreement was meant to stop. None of this ends without action, and strong action, like removing titles, would lead to more interviews, books, and public statements. The compromise view argues that since the tour will happen anyway and strict action creates more problems, the better option is to allow some structure that limits the damage. William's position is that any compromise only makes the behavior acceptable, creates a rule that cannot be reversed, music, and eventually leads to a situation where using the royal brand for profit becomes officially accepted. Both sides have logical arguments. The compromise side works better in the short term. William's view protects the institution in the long term. Charles, dealing with immediate pressure, health issues, and personal feelings, is being drawn toward compromise. William, thinking about the future and the long-term effects, is pushing back as strongly as he can. The final decision will come soon. The summer will show which side wins music. If Harry receives a warm welcome at Invictus, compromise has won for now. If he is kept at a distance, then William's position has held. The record will show the outcome. Charles' speech, Harry's frustration, William's warning, and the sealed time capsule in Washington all remain as part of the same story. The visit continues. The speech is planned, the state dinner is set, the time capsule is sealed, and Harry remains in California watching. The 250th anniversary of American independence gives this visit deeper historical meaning beyond current politics. 2.5 centuries ago, Britain and America were defined by conflict. The Revolutionary War, the Declaration of Independence, and the rejection of monarchy shaped that beginning. Since then, the relationship has slowly transformed into one of the strongest alliances in modern history. Shared sacrifices in world wars, cooperation during the Cold War, and deep intelligence ties have kept the bond strong. Charles visiting during the 250th anniversary reflects that the relationship has moved beyond its origins and still holds importance today, regardless of current political challenges.